Message of love for our atheist brothers and sisters. One of the arguments that often expose people who are atheists, meaning those who do not believe in the existence of God, is the scientific and rational impossibility to prove that God exists. Atheists argue that faith is contrary to reason and intellect. They say it's easier and more convenient to have faith than to think and reason. A famous 19th century atheist said, "Faith means not wanting to know the truth." It is pretty clear from these arguments that our atheist brothers and sisters have anger towards God, and I understand their indignation to some extent. However, it is important to say that God is not responsible for all the so-called man-made religions and what so-called believers have done to pollute and alter God and His Word. Atheists have the right to reject the God that many believers preach. However, to judge God for human behavior and religious dogmas on one hand, and on another hand, deny His existence, creates confusion and should be questioned. I pose this idea. Let's say God exists, and that He must be at the same time all which is good for human beings. Truth, justice, kindness, purity, and especially immortality, a life that is not conditioned and limited by death as ours. We can accept that it's quite easy and a reality to disqualify God. Blaming Him for all is easy and also unfair and cowardly. Our suffering and death, war and evil in this world system are some of the arguments against God and to justify atheism. Again, in some sense, they're right. Certainly, the absence of God in itself brings wrath, pride, sadness, and bitterness. But yet, this view is promising to atheists. It also gives them an advantage over other views, as their struggle with anger actually proves the existence of God. Those of you who are proud of being atheists should analyze this. If God does not exist, as you say, why fight with God or be proud of being atheists? This fight against God is far better than feeling indifferent towards Him. This is an advantage since someone well-versed in atheism can get closer to God than 1,000 so-called believers stuck and tied in religious ceremonies and a legalistic view of God. Does this describe you? Do you want to make a leap into the abyss, which means to believe in God? One who has ended his or her reasoning, which means one who has discovered that intellect and reason produces in oneself arrogance and pride, which are both a prison and a spiritual jail. Acquaint now thyself with God, and have peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee. God recommended this to Job, a man famous for his insistence on self-proclaimed righteousness, goodness, holiness, and being a victim. Just like you, my atheist brothers and sisters, Job was very angry with God. He did not understand that anger and pride impede us from seeing through faith the true existence of God. Job did not know this word. God is light, and in Him is no darkness. A God of truth and without any iniquity on Him. He is just and righteous. Our reason and intellect, science and technology can never prove the existence and love that are in God. They only separate us from Him as they counter faith itself, which are the eyes we see Him with. We must stop believing in human doctrines, stop believing in ourselves. We need a heavenly and divine doctrine. If this is what we want, then it's time to demolish the three great idols we serve: reason, intellect, and thought. Are you alarmed at these words? It's written in the Bible, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Brothers and sisters, faith in God brings the knowledge of Him. Faith is a wisdom and revelation from above, and therefore is infinitely superior to the supposed wisdom and knowledge, logic, and rationale of human beings. I myself was very angry at God. I blamed Him for everything. I made Him responsible for my sufferings and the suffering in this world. I tried to hold on to my reason and my intellect, and in my strength and in my success, in my money and whatever was so-called spirituality without the existence of God in my life. One day, I realized it was hopeless. Then I stopped fighting with God. I realized that atheism had been a prelude to the knowledge, love, and power of God, which is in Jesus Christ, Yeshua, God incarnate, the perfect Lamb whose blood was shed for all for the remission of sins and life everlasting. We need to acknowledge our sins and our inherited fall, so we can turn away from that which is not of love towards Him who waits with open arms on the cross and has conquered death already and the darkness of this world. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you thinks he is wise in this age, becomes ignorant, so he may be wise.